Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech, protected.
No. Is this a werewolf movie?
Is this a superhero movie?
Is this an allegory for puberty?
All this and more on Gory Story Time.
Warning. Gory Storytime is a horror movie review show by a son and his dad who thought that letting his 5-year-old watch scary movies was acceptable. If you are offended by horror or talk about blood and gore by a child, or if you don't want horror movies from the 60s through today spoiled, then there is a remote stuck in your couch cushion next to potato chip crumbs. Use it. And of course, parental discretion is advised.
Why? You didn't use any.
Shut up and start the show.
Welcome to Gory Story Time. I'm your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and his father, Craig. And quickly to answer those questions, yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah. Go ahead and go match those up. This week, we're starting our set of 4
This is,
Introduction to Horror.
yeah, that's what we're going to call this. It's movies to play for your kids that will get them maybe interested in the horror genre without being scary. There
Right.
are scary spots in certain movies that we were talking about,
Yeah.
but and they all seem to be from the 80s that we're going for.
Which
Well,
is perfect.
I think one of them might be 90s, but we'll get there eventually. So Teen Wolf. I mean, it's just a good way. Again, I had you watching these before watching horror movies because
Werewolves are a classic horror
trope
trope or genre or whatever you want
know,
to call it.
and
Creature.
You know, there's ghosts and vampires and werewolves in a lot of movies that are for kids.
Yeah.
This one has, and you'll find a lot of them have some adult content, even though if
It's
you're an 80s
for
kid like
kids.
me, you probably saw it when you were too young to understand, which is why they got away with it.
Yeah. And they got away with far more
Then the
on
now.
the nose,
Oh, yeah.
blatant adult content in those movies.
But the basic premise is Michael J. Fox, and I know a lot of people out there have seen the series. I don't even acknowledge that that's a thing, unless you're talking about the animated series. This is not that.
Which he acknowledges
Anyway.
as a thing.
That's Twilight for werewolves. Forget that show. I won't even watch it. But this here, it's Scott Howard. He's a normal small town kid. His dad owns a hardware shop. He's on the basketball team. His mother had passed away, and he's going through puberty a little late, is what it seems like.
I mean,
It definitely-
kinda really late if
It
it's
definitely,
17.
it definitely like has connections to that time of life. But anyway, but he's supposed to be 17, so yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
Well, if that's the case,
His
the
coach
sequel
actually
doesn't work
comments on
either.
it. Well, but anyway, the point is, he starts having a bunch of weird stuff happen, and he finds out
He starts having hair in weird places.
he's
like the
yeah
back
he
of his
finds out
hands.
he's a werewolf. It's not a spoiler because it's called Teen Wolf. And his dad lets him know basically, hey, this is in our family. It's genetic. It skips a generation sometimes. The reason I didn't tell you, I was hoping it would skip you, and it didn't. But that's the basic premise, and he has to learn how to deal with all the social stigma of being a werewolf.
Yes. That stigma.
But before we get into any more of it or whatever, why don't we throw a trailer up so people can see what we're talking about?
Boom.
For Michael J. Fox, life hasn't been easy.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm going through changes.
His voice is changing.
Give me a keg of beer.
Is there anything wrong with me?
He's got hair on his chest. He's stopped being a boy.
What do you think about to get worked up?
At last, he's become
Scott? Scott Howard? This is your father speaking. Now open this door right this minute.
a wolf.
An explanation is probably long overdue.
Dad, an explanation? Look at me. Look at you.
He's always wanted to be something special, but he never expected this. Teen Wolf. He's got style.
There's something different about you. Did you change your hair?
He's got class.
Wolf prison.
He's got hair all over his body.
Wolves aren't supposed to be shy.
He's a wolf in teen's clothing. And tonight is his night to howl. Teen Wolf, a new comedy with Michael J. Fox, star of Back to the Future.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, anything else you want to say about the basic premise? I think we pretty much covered it, right?
We covered it, and then they covered it themselves again.
Yeah, pretty much. So, our next bit of business is, for those who don't know, we've been doing this since you were 13.
Oh my.
Yeah, and you're now 20.
Nah.
7 years of this. It's coming up on the anniversary if it hasn't hit it yet. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. But anyway, and we're getting closer to our 200th episode, which means we'll have to do another special thing. But we've got some ideas brewing for our fan.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the reason we do this week after week is because really high quality products come to us and beg us to sell their merchandise on our show. Every week, they just back up truckloads of money, and who's going to turn that down? So this week, our actual products we're selling that exist and you can really purchase somewhere are Gory Storytime is brought to you by Anna Movies, the streaming service that doesn't have the popular movies and TV shows you love, but we do have their follow-up cartoon series. Want to watch Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, but in animated form? We got you. Other options include Beetlejuice, Ace Ventura, Back to the Future, The Real Ghostbusters, Gilligan's Planet, and many more. So kick back and binge evidence that Hollywood will do anything for a buck with Anna Movies.
And by the What is Happening to My Body series. The book's about changes every teenage supernatural child goes through and how to deal with their body's specific needs. Some of her titles include Puberty Bites, What is Happening to My Body, for vampires, I Got Hair in New Places, What is Happening to My Body, for werewolves, and a version for the lycanthrope girls called Is This Really Going to Happen Every Month? What is Happening to My Body, for werewolf girls. Find the best option for your little monster today.
All right. Now, let's get into the meat and beef, which is really appropriate with him being a carnivore. We call it the meat and beef of the show. The behind-the-scenes information. Scott Howard, played by Michael J. Fox, his house was located on the same block as 1955 George McFly and 1955 Lorraine Baines' house from Back to the Future.
The entire production only took 21 days.
Which is why there's some bad, continuity. There's a couple spots, and that's why they didn't have a lot of time. Michael J. Fox disliked this film so much he refused to return for the sequel. In an interview at the time, while Back to the Future was in production, he said, Steven Spielberg's down the street making a great movie, and I was playing a werewolf? Or I'm playing a werewolf? Go ahead.
When Susan Your City slapped Michael J. Fox, she did it too hard at first. Rod Daniel had to explain what a softer stage slap was.
Since this movie was released after Back to the Future in Brazil, Teen Wolf received the title Garoto do Futuro, Boy from the Future. There, even the plot has nothing to do with time travel whatsoever.
Michael J. Fox and Jeff Glosser couldn't eat solid food while in makeup. They had milkshakes and soup.
True. According to Rod Daniel, Somewhere in a Vault is about an hour of the most embarrassing sports footage ever taken.
Lisa Booth Macaroni?
No, Lisa Booth Marconi
was based on one of the writer's high school girlfriends. That was really her name.
Rod Daniel voiced all the growls in the movie. He joked, and I didn't get a nickel.
Co-writers Jeff Loeb and Matthew Wiseman interviewed several directors for the movie. They asked the directors what they thought the movie was about. Most said it was about a werewolf. Rod Daniel was the only one who said it was about a father and a son. He got the job.
Michael J. Fox's double was Jeff Glosser, who was a college basketball player at the time.
The beaver mascot logo used in the film was the Oregon State University Beavers logo, in use by the university at that time.
Susan Ursitti, or Lisa Booth Marconi. They never called her Lisa. I didn't even know her name was Lisa. I've watched that movie a billion times, man. It was Booth.
Yeah.
Had only made one movie before this, Zapped from 1982. Co-screenwriters Jeff Loeb and Matthew Wiseman saw her in that film and knew they wanted her for this one.
The wolf transition shots were filmed last.
The jersey worn by Michael J. Fox was sold to the Dinah Collection, Beverly Hills Pawn Shop, for $30,000.
Oh my. According to Rod Daniel, I didn't say 10 words to Michael J. Fox about his character or what we were doing. We were always making the same movie.
Yeah, well, one of them liked it more than the other, though. The film was delayed from its spring 1985 release because of Back to the Future, which went on to become a blockbuster at Universal. As Paramount and the production company Atlantic Releasing Corp wanted to capitalize on Michael J. Fox's newfound stardom, the film would go on to be a surprise hit.
If the teen actors seem too old to be high school students, it's no wonder. Scott is played by Michael J. Fox, age 23, Styles by Jerry Levine at age 27, and Chubby by Mark Holton at age 26. Mick is played by Mark Arnold at age 27.
The project came together when Michael J. Fox accepted the lead role and his Family Ties co-star Meredith Baxter became pregnant, which created a delay in the show's filming that allowed Fox time to complete the filming and return to the TV show. That's why they had to do it in 21 days.
Michael J. Fox's fame rose steadily while filming due to the increasing success of Family Ties. By the end of production, Fox needed more security than he did at the beginning.
And I just have to say, he's wrong for not liking this movie. It's, you know, to me, it's great. I'll get into that when we rate it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, is it Back to the Future? No, but it's not that same story.
It's not the same story.
Except
Other
there
than
are a
him,
lot of
it's
parallels.
not the same actor.
Right.
Like, it's different cast, different story, different things happening.
No, but what I'm saying is, you know, people will be like, well, his best movie. It's like, well, yes.
All right, but that's not really fair to this.
I mean, no, I actually put this above
The
Back
first
to the
Back to the
Future
Future.
3.
Oh, wow. Duh.
Yeah, I put this above 1 and 3.
And not 2.
No, 2
2
is the
is
best of those.
superior of
But anyway,
those,
those
yeah.
we're not going to review because
We're
there's
not gonna
no
review
way
those.
to convince anyone that those are horror related.
I mean, look at the scary realism of time travel. What would happen in real life if we
Apparently,
did that?
Jaws 29 or whatever, or
Yeah.
19 happens, but that's not this movie. On the old Rotten Tomatoes, the people have rated this movie at 52%. That means 52% of the people gave it a positive review. Those 48% are dumb.
Yeah, and the critics Gave it 42%.
Here's the thing, and we go over this a lot, but, treat every show like it's the first one someone's seen. If this is the first one you've seen, you might not have heard me say it before.
Yeah.
Honestly, the reviewers, when it comes to horror and comedy,
Yep.
always go low unless it's something super special like, The Exorcist or Jaws. But for the most part,
and until Marvel came along, superhero movies were getting a bad rep too.
For a reason.
Well,
But anyway, so yes, it's 42% or whatever with the critics, but that's because the critics are always hard on teen comedies. The fact that there's sexuality and marijuana in a scene and, some of Styles' shirts were inappropriate, at least one was.
yeah, I don't care.
Well, no. So know that. We're saying these are ones to introduce your kids to the horror idea. They're not horror. It's kind of like our horror adjacent, but this is watch this and see how they handle this. Because if they can't handle this, they certainly can't handle actual horror.
True.
Anywho, what was your favorite scene?
I guess I'd have to say the obvious riding on top of the van. I loved that. Absolutely loved it.
Which one?
When
they both
when Scott did it.
Okay. As the wolf?
Yeah.
When he was doing the handstands and
Yeah.
stuff, and his dad was like, really? Yeah, because that was at a point where Scott's character was getting a little too big for his shoes.
Yeah.
And even his dad was like, I've been a werewolf a lot longer. I'll knock the snot out of you, kid. He didn't say that. He was too nice, but you know what I'm saying. He was just like, you need to watch your stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So my favorite scene doesn't even involve Michael J. Fox. The guy who played his father, it says it in here somewhere. I think it's Jeff Glosser, because he had to have the makeup. That would be his dad. He's the only other werewolf in it.
Michael J. Fox's double was Jeff Glosser, so no.
Huh. Well, who was the dad? I don't know. The point is,
I don't know.
the dad ended up also voicing the animated series as the dad. They got the actual
Isn't
guy.
that neat?
It is kind of cool. But anyway, my favorite thing was the dad confronting the principal who treated his son like crap because he had a problem with the dad, and the dad being a werewolf from when he was a teenager. And when he confronts him, spoiler alert, just letting out a low growl and reminding him who he was messing with caused a little release of the bladder.
A little. Yeah.
At least they didn't go scatological. It was bladder.
Yeah.
What was your least favorite scene?
It's a tough one. I guess, and it's nitpicking because I love this movie, but the way the werewolf looks. Because it's like, they just put some weird looking clay or whatever and...
Oh, you're talking during the transformation, because
No.
it looks different than...
Well, I mean, the mask or whatever it is that he's wearing, right? With the really bad hair. It's like, that's not what a werewolf would look like.
Well, I've yet to find a werewolf movie that has made it look very accurate to what you would think a werewolf would actually look like. And that includes the Wolfman that painstakingly glued on a hair at a time onto...
It was really cool of them to do that.
It just still looks weird. Hopefully with the Talisman movie being made...
A small side note here, Stephen King's The Talisman is finally getting made into a miniseries.
And we would have loved to advertise for that on our, or talk about that on our, this year coming up horror movies episode.
Was announced last week.
Yeah. But anyway, my least favorite thing, honestly, is there is kind of a cookie cutter plot to they kind of borrow from a couple cookie cutters. The sports team that's not that good does really good. They get to the final game. Will they win? Will they won't? Usually they win in those movies. I'm not going to say what they do in this one because you can watch it. It's the last scene.
Go ahead. It's like whatever.
I spoiled some other stuff, but I'm not going to spoil that. They borrowed from that. He's in love with the girl who who's not good for him and has to come around to realize that the one he needs is the one that was there the whole time.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a
And
couple
it's not even subtle. It's like right on the nose. It's like as soon as you meet her, you know.
There are many movies where somehow they'll take that cookie cutter thing and still make a great movie around it. And I do think that that's what happened here.
Well, and I think it's because they took like 5 or 6 cookie cutters.
Yeah, and they kind of blended them together.
And made this giant cookie.
All right, on a scale of 1 to 10. Now remember, we're not rating this as a horror movie. This is horror. This is movies to introduce the idea of horror to your kids.
I'm gonna go with a 7.
Really?
On that scale, because if it's in the idea of this is to introduce your kids to horror, it doesn't really have scary in it.
No, that's what you want in those. You don't want because if just transforming scares them, then you don't want something real. That's why this is on the list.
I guess I'll go with an 8, but it's not.
I'm gonna go with a 9 because werewolves are my favorite characters.
Oh yeah, this is a great movie.
Horror.
If I was just rating the movie in itself,
so do that.
Oh well, then a 9. But all right, so.
And when you have kids, are you gonna have your kids watch it?
Yes.
Okay.
But if I'm gonna introduce them to something horrific, I'm not gonna introduce them.
And
I
also
comedy.
had you watch it when you were a little young. But the reason was because you had seen these and could handle. There's stuff in this and some of the other ones we've talked about that can actually be a little intense for little kids. Specifically the transformation and like when he's like, just, he doesn't understand that I'm not calling this a horror movie at all. I'm saying this is to introduce the ideas, it's the foundation for a child. Anyway, so I would say 9. I love horror movies.
Yeah.
And I love werewolves in particular.
And teen comedies.
Yeah. In the 80s.
Those 80s teen comedies, I just
great.
can't get enough.
All right. Now, why don't we wrap it up so we don't run out of time? Over.
Boom. Oh, jump cut. Okay. You can watch the show on Fact TV channel 1076, Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. and Fridays at 7 p.m.
Change the... That's good. You can like us on Facebook. And when I say us, I mean you can like Gory Storytime, which I got to start posting more stuff. I also mean like Fact TV. You'll get all sorts of good stuff, like live streams of like local political things and school board things, et cetera, sports things.
Keep yourself up to date with
shows.
Your town.
Yeah.
Which is helpful with everything that's going on in this crazy,
really
crazy world. You can like us. No, you can go to factdate.com and watch a bunch of the back episodes of this and a ton of the other shows that they have and all those other really, really cool things that they do all the time because this is a great channel and you should watch it all the time.
You can also check us out on Twitter. I'm at Craig Jakes, all one word, all lowercase.
I'm at Jiggly Firm Brain, all lowercase. I just tweet random things that this guy says.
And it's really messed up, so please understand some of them will be laugh out loud, and some of them
just
you
like
better have a twisted sense of humor.
Just like some of this show.
Some of the commercials, for example.
Is very M-rated. So,
yeah, that's way more M-rated than this.
Oh, yeah.
Rated TV MA, and it's not even TV.
Yeah.
Oh, and also check out my YouTube channel. It's at Juggalo Jakes. You can also just look for Gory Storytime. You'll find my channel. You'll find their channel, which I also suggest. Fact TV has their own.
Yep.
And they've got episodes of this. They got episodes of other shows up there too. So
oh, yeah.
That's about it for this week, right?
Yep. So until next week with our next introduction to horror movie, I'm your host, Jason.
My co-host and his father, Craig, and
Sweet dreams.